Starting with the history, two important things that you need to look for. First, mechanism of injury. Second, time of onset of effusion. To understand the mechanism of injury, you need to know the functions of the meniscus. If this is femur, meniscus, tibia. Tibial condyles are flat, which makes the tibiofemoral joint relatively incongruent. Meniscus, because of its wedge-shaped structure, makes the articular surfaces more congruent. Next, meniscus dissipates the joint load imposed by the femur on the tibia. Now, how does that happen? Meniscus increases the contact area because of its larger surface area, and by the formula stress is equal to force upon area. As the area increases, the stress or the load imposed on the joint decreases. Now, for this function to continue, meniscus has to always remain beneath the femur. So during flexion and extension, the meniscus deforms or distorts its shape so that it is always beneath the femur. Failure to distort or deform in the proper direction leads to excessive stress on the meniscus, thereby leading to its injury. Two most common positions in which this can happen. First, rotation on a semi-flexed knee. Second, hyperflexion of knee. So in the history, you need to find out if there was twisting or excessive flexion of the knee that led to the injury. On the basis of history, meniscal injuries can be classified into two types: traumatic, as we have already discussed, or degenerative. So if there's a young patient who has had a history of trauma, then that can be classified as traumatic. But if there is a patient above 40 years of age and has no significant history of trauma, then that patient can be classified as degenerative meniscal tear. The cause here can be repetitive minor trauma which led to the tear. Next is the time of onset of effusion. Now this differentiates meniscal injuries from other knee or ligamentous injuries. How? In meniscal injuries, the swelling appears after certain hours, whereas in other knee injuries, the swelling appears immediately. Why is that so? Because in meniscal injuries, the swelling is because of synovial reaction, which appears after a gradual period of time. In case of other knee injuries, the swelling is because of hemarthrosis, which appears immediately. Next important finding is joint line tenderness. So when you palpate along the joint line, if you feel for tenderness, then that indicates a possible meniscal tear. Next is locking of the knee. What is it? It is inability of the knee to extend in the last few degrees. What does it indicate? It indicates that the torn portion of the meniscus is stuck between the femoral and tibial condyles. Now, will you see locking in all cases of meniscal injuries? No. You will only see it in those cases where the severity is so much so that a portion of the meniscus has been torn and it gets stuck between the tibial condyles, acting as a mechanical block, and therefore the patient is not able to fully extend the knee. Locking is seen in bucket handle tears. There are different types of meniscal tears: horizontal, longitudinal, radial, oblique. Bucket handle is a type of longitudinal tear. Now, if the joint is not locked, then it might indicate that the tear is in the periphery. Why? Because had it been centrally, the meniscus would have got stuck between the condyles and you would have seen locking as a clinical feature. So this can give you a rough idea as to the severity of the tear. Next, special tests. So there are three special tests: McMurray's test, Apley's grinding test, and Thesile's test. Now it is extremely important to understand when to do these tests. Why? Because if you do it in the acute stage, you will get inaccurate results. After the injury, in the initial phase of healing, the tissues are inflamed and the muscles are in a guarded state. So at this stage, if you attempt any maneuver, you will get inaccurate result of the severity of the structure that is injured. So when should you do a special test? Now this is not an easy judgment to make, but with practice you will get better at it. When the acute signs of inflammation have subsided, so effusion is not there anymore, or when you are able to palpate and see that the muscles are no more in a guarded state.